Hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome.
Hey,
Hi.
Juliana.
Thank you for making yourself available, even with this 11 hours difference that we have between Brazil and the Philippines. But I think
Of
yeah,
course.
I think it's going to be very worthy. And I know your story. I feel like I participated of it somehow, and I still do. So I'm very proud to invite you here to share with other people what you have been going through, the learns that you have had. Just to summarize, we are going to talk about career change and how Trixie made her move, is still making her move. She's going to tell us better, from working for a company to be an entrepreneur. And I want to say how we met earlier this year, right? We were in
Yes.
Thailand, in Chiang Mai. I don't recall exactly where we met, but I recall that we exchanged phones. And a couple of days later, maybe the next day, you texted me and you said, Juliana, can we meet? I need to talk to someone about something very serious. And I don't know if I told you that, but I thought you were pregnant. At the moment, that's what came to my mind. Like, oh my goodness, she's pregnant. And she wants some advice about what to do. I didn't tell you that, right? I was like, yeah, maybe she's pregnant.
Yeah.
And then we met the following day in the morning. We went for that nice place for breakfast. And you start telling me about your plans, your career change, and some ideas you had different than what you're doing now. But that's how I got to know more about your story. And we start getting closer and exchanging information and all of that. So, yeah, I'm glad that we met, although I don't remember the exactly moment or event that we met. But anyway, here we
I
are.
think it was the Nomad Girls lunch, I think.
Oh, okay. On Wednesday, yeah, in the early bird cafe. Yes, that
Yeah.
was it. Yeah. So we met in the lunch and we
Yeah.
exchanged phone. And then a couple of days later, you text me and said, I need to talk to someone. And I was like, oh, she's pregnant. But no, you're not pregnant. Somehow you were pregnant of a new idea, right? Of a new business idea.
Pregnant with ideas.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, thank you very much once again for being here. And do you want to introduce yourself for people that are joining or watching now? They understand better your background.
Yeah, so how shall I introduce myself? I'm kind of a lot of things right now. But anyway, professionally, I guess professionally, my background, I've been working here in Manila for most of my career. My background is in marketing and advertising, and I would do events and run campaigns for big brands here. And then about a couple years ago, I decided I wanted to travel and started working remotely.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically did the same thing that I had been doing professionally and started turning it as online work. And so I got to travel for a couple years. And yeah, now I decided from that journey of kind of, well, I still am a full-time research consultant, but I'm trying to make the transition into intuitive coaching.
Mm-hmm. Big change, big change. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go step by step through it. So you were working as a researcher. It was not a remote job. It was an office job at the beginning, right?
Well, most of my career here has been an office job
Okay.
in advertising, marketing. But when I turned it to remote work, I focused more on the research side
Mm-hmm.
as a research consultant.
Okay. And how was this change to the remote work? You suggested that to the company, they offer you this opportunity. Other people were already doing the remote because that's already a big career change. For you now, this is a small step because it's done, but I'm sure there are a lot of people watching. They are like, I wish I could change
Okay.
my current job into
Yeah.
remote one. So how was this process?
So that first bit it was just that a friend of mine started to do the same thing. She got a job on Upwork, the platform Upwork.
Uh-huh.
And I just started exploring it and looking at job opportunities there. And so I found one that was aligned with my path. Then it was a project management job. So basically the same work that I was doing here, but
Okay.
just turning it online.
For a different
This was
company.
someone who was based in it was someone who was based in Australia.
Okay, okay. So you changed, the
Yeah.
person you're
So
working
that
for was not within the same, it was not that you had a remote job and you talked to your boss and you changed that to remote. You changed companies. You were working for someone in
yeah
Australia. Okay, okay. Through
yeah.
Upwork. Okay.
And
Which
then,
is a website. If people don't know,
yeah.
Upwork is a website where people post freelancer job offers, right? And you can go there, you fill up your
Mm-hmm.
profile, and you can kind of apply for a position for someone who is looking for specific skills or a specific kind of jobs. And that's what you did, right? Through Upwork.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't give up my day job right away. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of did it at the same time
Okay.
for about 6 months, maybe, to get myself going, to see how I feel about working remotely.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finally quit my job.
Okay.
And I decided I want to go fully remote, and I wanted to, I wanted to travel and really experience that life.
Nice, nice. So let me make a comment here because I love the way you did it. So you had an idea about going remote. That was your goal. That was your priority at that moment. So you looked for options for it and you tested it out. So you contacted to this
Yeah.
person in Australia, you started work, but you didn't give up at the very beginning, your initial
Mm-hmm.
jobs. You had some stability, you had some you're doing the job for some years already. So the transition, that's what I want to point to people who are watching. The transition doesn't need necessarily to be a big jump and like, I'm going to quit my whole life and my job and all of that, and I'm going to start from scratch. It is an option, definitely, but it doesn't work out for everybody. So some people cannot let go the financial stability that they already have in the initial job. So you can do this transition. And of course, I'm sure you worked a lot because you were combining a full-time job with another job. So I'm not saying it's easy, and I have done the same thing. So I know how hard it is. But when I did my career
Yeah.
transition, I also made the same choice. I was like, I'm going to go step by step. There is no need to give up on everything because you didn't know if you're going to like the remote option. As you said, you didn't know if this
Exactly.
partnership with this Australian person was going to work. So I just want to say to people watching that you can do the transition from an office job to a remote job gradually, step by step. You're going to need to put
Mm-hmm.
more time and more effort in the process because you'll be doing two jobs at the same time. But I agree that it can be
Exactly.
worth it. So yeah, nice. Very good, very good. And then how long were you for 6 months, right? Combining your office job with the remote job for 6 months.
Yeah, about 6 months. I was waking up really early and working for like 4 or 5 hours in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would run to my office job for the rest of the day. So I was trying to feel to see how I felt about it. Like, what was the difference with working online versus actually going to an office? And
Mm-hmm.
I just got to a point where I realized that working online was just going to be a lot more financially stable for me, and I could do more things. I could travel more, and
Nice.
it just was all good things. So I was like, okay, I think it's time
Good.
to make that transition. Yeah.
Nice, nice. So when did you identify that it was time to quit the office job? I know it was 6 months after you start, but was there anything that happened specifically, or it was a gradual feeling that you had, or something happened, and after that happened, I decided I was going to quit my office job? How was this transition, this initial transition from quitting the office job and go fully remote?
Yeah, it was gradual. I wanted to give myself time to think about it and to, evaluate my finances first of all,
Mm-hmm.
and check, could I earn the same thing basically if I turned this online job into a full-time thing.
Yeah.
So the answer was I could actually earn more.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing was that how I actually feel about the job. Like, do I like this job? Do I like the position that I'm going to be given and all of this? So it was gradual. It wasn't just one thing. It was kind of giving myself time to really think about it and be ready for that change.
Okay.
And then when the change finally happened, I felt really good about it. It wasn't such a big thing, except for, of course, my friends and like people in the office were like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, they were surprised, right? With the change.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes the change they happen gradually and there is no turning point like that happened. I had that conversation. Sometimes it happened, but I think we can release the pressure of I'm gonna wait for a sign, like I'm gonna dream about it. I'm gonna wake up one day and I'll have one email
Yeah,
in my
no.
inbox. Not necessarily, sometimes it's because you're already working on the process. At some point, as you said, it feels natural. It feels good. It feels right. this is the next step I'm going to take. But there
Yeah.
was a lot of work. That's what I want to point. It's not that one day you wake up and you're like, I'm ready to quit my
Yeah.
job. No, you were working in the two jobs for 6 months. You're already on the
Mhm.
process. So it was just normal that at some point you would feel it was the time to quit one job and go fully remote. Good, good. And how long ago was
Mhm.
it that it went fully remote?
That was about a couple years ago. Yeah, maybe 2 years ago was when I first started.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my, it's 2020 now, so like 2.5 years ago.
Okay, yeah, 2.5 years. And then how does
Yeah.
the coaching thing started entering in your life?
Yeah, so the coaching thing happened. So yeah, I was working remotely already. I'd been traveling a lot, and then that's when we met in Thailand. I was kind of still exploring this world of do I want to keep this job and just keep traveling anyway. It's a good job, I felt really good about what I was doing and but I just felt like I had always wanted to do something that I was really passionate about. And while I really liked my work, I I just knew that I just felt like there was something more that I wanted to do. And again, it wasn't just like one thing. It was a series of things from the start of this year up to yeah, around a couple months ago.
Okay.
Um, at the start of this year, I actually kind of informally got a life coach myself. I had met someone here in Manila at an event at a mindfulness event, and she kind of just took me on and just started coaching me basically. And it wasn't anything formal. Like I didn't hire her or anything, but I was going through things and I was talking to her about my transitions and like feeling lost about what I wanted to do. And then she just kind of started to take me on and started coaching me. So I actually felt what it was like to be coached myself. And
Nice.
so that happened early this year, but I had no idea, I just thought that I was just kind of getting advice from a woman that I really admired,
Uh-huh.
right?
You didn't know
Like
the
I had
impact
no
it was gonna
idea
have in
that,
your life, yeah. But those things happen.
yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
know.
I always tell my clients that if you want to change into a new area, into a new career, into a new profession, the best thing you can do is to get closer to the reality of that job. Because we might be dreaming about, oh, I wish I could work as a coach or as something else. But if you don't know how is the reality, if you have never experienced the situation, or the service you're going to provide, or the product you're going to sell, or how is to be working 8 hours
Exactly.
per day doing that. So the more you get closer to the reality, the better, because you have some taste and you did that without planning in advance, right? Okay, I'm going to be a coachee, but without further intention. But that was the beginning of, you know what? I see the impact it causes. I see the change that a coach can do in my life. So that was the beginning of it. But I think it's very important, this step by step getting closer to the new reality before you make it happen, because you not even planned that, but it was a turning point. I experienced the effects of a life coach and
Yeah.
I liked it. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah. That was kind of the first thing. And then another thing was that I had gone back to Manila after Thailand, and
I
one of my
remember.
early attempts was to start
I know this
one
part.
of my
Yes.
early exciting things of trying to be an entrepreneur was I wanted to start the digital nomad community here in Manila, in the city where I'm living. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And then as I started to do events and started speaking to people, I just realized that people were so interested in my story and they were like really motivating me to share. Like, how did you, like, who are you again? And where were you last year? To why are you starting a community now? Like, what is this thing that you're doing? And how did you get from where you were then to where you are now? And so that was another kind of like moment of like me thinking about people actually want to know, want to learn from my experience right now and what's going on with me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of
Big
another
step.
thing. And so I
Yeah.
started another kind of moment, like yeah, like a step. And then the lockdown happened, of course. COVID happened and I couldn't do the events anymore. So I started hosting the events online
Mm-hmm.
with the community. And I also started joining other digital nomad communities with the other festivals and online events that they were doing. And then the more that I did that, I also kind of realized that I was going for the events that had coaches in them, or like
Nice.
has to do with self-development,
Uh-huh.
because I was working on myself. Like my only goal then, I think at the time, was just to keep working on myself. And so yeah, I got to see like a lot of different coaching styles, I suppose,
Mm-hmm.
through attending a lot of these events. And that's really important, I think, to also to highlight here is yeah, allowing yourself to get into that experience again and see what's out there, even if it's not clear yet in your head, right, what exactly you want to do. But just see what's out there and start listening to people and start interacting and surrounding yourself with the people that that are really passionate about the same things.
Wow.
So right.
You said so many things. Let me pause here to process all that you
Yeah.
said because it's so amazing. Because you lived it. Maybe you don't realize how powerful it is, everything that you're sharing. So let's go step by step because there is a lot of gold things that you said in the process. So first of all, you had the idea, and I remember that because we spoke about it in Thailand. We had the idea of starting a digital nomad community, right? And then you went back to Manila. That was February, right? Earlier this year, and you did
Yeah.
it. So the first thing I want to emphasize here is when you have an idea, don't just stay in, I have an idea. Take it out from your brain and go to the reality. Start testing things. I remember you said, but how do I do that? I was like, post something on Facebook, organize the first event and get it done. And that's what you did. So you didn't stay only wondering about what if you did. You created a lot of events. The number of attendees were increasing. People start calling you for podcasts, for interviews, and that was super fast. The progression you had. Not that you were an expert in digital nomad communities and online, no, but you did it. And I think that the main learning here is take the ideas from your brain and test them out. Maybe nobody would be interested on it. I think the first event you had 3 people or 4 people, right? Which were your friends. And you're like, oh my goodness, like
Yeah.
go for the second one.
Yeah.
The first one was not the most successful thing in your life. But without the first, with 3 or 4 people, you wouldn't have the elements or the power to, okay, I'm going to test the second one. And then the number was only increased. And then you had large events with a lot of people, but you started. So that's the first thing. When you have a new idea, when you want to test something, don't put there is this expression, right? Don't put all the eggs in the same basket, but test it out. You are still doing your research job. You didn't quit that, but you were putting a lot of time and effort investigating how to use Zoom online. I remember that also, right? You had to do this thing. You had to promote yourself. You're collaborating with other companies. So people, whoever is watching us there, test your ideas. Don't just stay dreaming about it because the magic will happen when you start testing and see if there is a need in the market, if people are interested in all of that. So that's the first thing I want to mention here. And then the other thing is that while you were doing the events and training yourself, like attending other digital nomad events and all of that, you start noticing that you are more interested into the coaching thing. You didn't force it. You didn't plan it in advance. Again, you were open, you were attending events, talking to people, putting a lot of time on it. But then you start looking inside and saying, you know what, for some reason, all the coaching events, I'm signing up, So that's interesting that you keep going, you keep walking, but you look inside and you identify which are the things that motivates me more, which are the things that I really enjoy, which are the things that I'm willing to pay for it, or I'm willing to dedicate a Saturday. I remember many Saturdays, you're like, well, I'm the full Saturday doing a training. So it's like, it got to be something you like, right? To dedicate one full Saturday to do a training. So looking inside while you were walking, while you were testing things, while you were talking to people, you don't need to know in advance, but always from time to time, stop and look inside. What do I like more? Why am I signing up for this event? Why am I watching this video? Why am I reading this blog? And this will give you a lot of tips about which is the next step to go. So I love that. I love that. So interesting. Nice. Were you feeling fear in the process? Was there any fears behind, or you were just relaxed and confident and going? Let's be vulnerable
No,
here.
of course.
If you were feeling fear, I don't know. How was it?
Yeah, we really should talk about that because there is a lot of fears involved in venturing into something that you don't know, right? That's
Mm.
so uncertain, or you're not even sure what it is that you want to pursue. But I just knew that I needed to keep growing, and I needed to keep looking for this thing. I think one of the first things that I was feeling when I decided to look into the coaching was like this fear of that I'm not 100%. That before I can start calling myself a coach, I need this, 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 and this.
Also known as imposter syndrome, right? There is even a name for that.
Yeah, kind of. But then it's more like imposter syndrome, yes, like questioning my value kind of, but also like I was looking at myself like I'm not going to be worthy of becoming that coach until I feel like super fulfilled inside of me, until I'm done working on myself first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's only imposter syndrome, but it's also kind of like I need to work on myself first before I start talking about all these things. I need to be 100%. But like, what is 100%, right? Like, what is perfect? What is perfect for me before I start calling myself an intuitive coach? What does that mean in this space? And who determines that? And that's only me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I think that's a very common fear, like feeling that I'm not ready yet. I still need to do that next course, or when I get that certification, or maybe I'm going to wait a couple of months more. So we keep putting steps and I don't know, challenge or barriers to kind of justify why we are not ready yet to make the move. There is always the next thing that if I do that, then I'm going to be ready. But then I
Mm-hmm.
do, and I feel like, oh, there is still a lot of other things that I could learn. So I think there is a healthy side of the story, which is motivate us to keep improving and to keep learning, because in any job we have a
Mm-hmm.
responsibility, but as a coach you're dealing directly with people, so you do have a lot of responsibility on the process. So I think there is a nice side of it, like, okay, I need to be careful before I make the step. I need to train myself. I need to improve as a person, as a coach. But the downside of this story is that we can keep putting next steps and what if, and then forever. And then we would never start. So there must be a
Yeah.
point that you say, I don't feel completely ready, but I'm doing it anyway, because otherwise you're going to be training yourself for 5 years. And then there is always a new course, there is always a new technique, there is always the new best coach ever. It can be forever. So we are never ready, actually,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and that's exactly a good point that you brought out, that it wasn't about my self-worth. Like I was feeling so pressured about trying to prove myself or wanting to prove myself before I could announce or speak my truth to the world, but I realized that it's that shift of like it's not about me, it's about wanting to provide the best service for people.
Mm-hmm.
And as a coach, that's the important thing. That's the value, right? It's not about how worthy you are of this space, but when do you feel like you're going to be able to give the best service for people?
Yeah, yeah. I remember talking to a client. She does hake, and then she was like, "Yeah, I can do hake, but I'm not very good at the visualization because I haven't not a hake expert. But there is like you see some like aura or something, and you give a feedback to the person, all of that." And I told her, "Look,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not a hake expert, if you haven't told me there is the visualization, I wouldn't be missing it, and I would be happy to receive only the hake session." So depending on what the other person is expecting, what you have to offer is already enough. So if you look back, there are a lot of people that you can already help in the process, and it applies for you start a new financial course, for you start a new career in a different area. It doesn't need to be in the coaching area. For any new job, new profession that you get, you can always help people that are behind you in the knowledge of that area. But if you look to the other side, of course, there will be a lot of people that know more than you. And that should be good to keep motivating you to keep learning. And okay, I want to be like that person. So I have a lot of walk to go. But when I look back, I know I have learned, I know I have some value to add to people. So you can always help. So you can always do hake for people
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't know anything about hake, and you're going to help them. You're going to provide value.
What is it? Is it Reiki?
Reiki is like some energy thing that you, yeah, I don't know how to, I'm
Yeah.
not an expert, but I know you can do it even online. It doesn't need to be with the person in front
Yeah.
of you. So there is a wide variety of things that you can do with your hake knowledge, with your finance knowledge, with your theater knowledge, wherever you do, there is always someone that knows less than you. And it's not taking advantage of the person. It's like sharing what you know to help that person to walk the path that you already walked. But you have clarity that there is a lot of other things that you can do and that you do. But if we start to be in the step 100 of the path, well, what about people that are in step 1 and that we can help them in the process? And I think a nice way is like doing volunteer activities, for example. Do a free internship, offer to do some coaching sessions or some hake sessions for free or for a very little amount of money, because it's not about money at the beginning. It's about putting yourself in the situation and testing your skills and providing value. Let's not forget that providing value to people that you can already provide in the step that you are. Comparing ourselves is the worst thing we can do. Yeah, definitely. I think understand our limits. It's also important. So if I'm starting, okay, I know I have some limitations. That's fine. That's okay. That's healthy. And I'm gonna probably ask for help. I'm going to train myself. I'm going to learn more, but still I can provide value to other people who knows less than I. So I want to ask you that, Trixie, talking about asking for help. In the process, let's talk from January up to now that you started your actions more directed to the initially the digital nomad community, the events and all of that, and then this transition to the coaching part. Did you ask for help in the process? Did you feel that you need it or not yet? So how was your experience with asking for help in the process of a career change?
Yeah, always. I think my mindset is, yeah, I'm in a space of learning right now, and so um, I want to keep learning from people. And so when I decided on the coaching, I first looked at like who are the people in my life right now, what are the resources that I have, who are these people that I want to ask for advice. And obviously, the first person that I called was my coach.
Great.
And I told
Yeah.
her the news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, so what do I do? How do I start? Like, what does this journey involve? And I just had all the questions that I wanted to ask her, and she kind of helped point me in the right directions of like a course that I could take, things that I could expect. And we talked about my own coaching experience with her as well, which was kind of nice to look back to. So like looking back at what I actually experienced myself, and so now if I'm going to give this as a service to people, what would that be like? What is the real stuff that I have to consider? So really looking at my own resources at that very moment, and looking at who are the people that I want to connect with that could allow me to or like let me connect to more and more people. So it's almost like a tree. Like I was looking at my roots and looking at where I wanted to go further.
I like
Does
this
that make
metaphor.
sense?
Yeah, it's like a tree. Yeah, yeah. And if you think about it, a tree doesn't move. A
Yeah.
tree doesn't move. So the initial action doesn't need to be, okay, I'm gonna look for someone, an expert in another country, and all of that. Look around the people that you already have connection, people that are already there for you, people that know you, people that would be available for, okay, let's have a coffee or a virtual coffee nowadays, whatever. Let's make a Zoom call and talk about it, because we might have people around us that are already in that step, doing that job, in that career position that we want to have. So we can go further, and I think it's important also to open up the options that we have, the references and all of that. But first, we can look around. We can talk to people that we know. As I said at the beginning, career change is something very common. Most of us will go through a career change or more than one during our work life. We work until we are 70 or whatever. So the times that we got a stable job when we were 20 something and we worked there for 50 years and we retire, it's over. So career change will happen to, they happen to me, they're happening to you, and they will happen to people who are watching us. So talk to people about the process, about not knowing for sure the next step. What do I do? Or people that are doing the thing, like your coach, you were coaching, receiving coaching sessions. That was the next logical step. Let me talk to my coach. Let me share the news first of all, and let me learn from her. And I'm sure she shared a lot of things. So normally people are very open to give advice, to talk about their experience. We are very afraid, and I always say that on LinkedIn also, like, ask people for their experience, for advice. Some will ignore you, obviously, but that's real life. People will ignore you sometimes, but some people will be very happy to share, like your coach did, right? She shared information with you. So that's very nice. Look around, people that you already know, you're already connected, people that are happy to spend some time with you and share their experience. So that's very nice. Yeah, good.
Yeah. And if you don't have it also, just start immersing yourself in the communities that you want to be part of. So I started joining more events. Now that I had kind of a clear path that I wanted to take, I looked at, more events that I could join, but now really focusing on the coaching and the healing side of it. And so if I didn't have that resource, how can I get that resource? What do I join? Where do I go online? How do I talk to these people? How do I meet these people? And just really allowing myself to get there. So that I think that's also important for people who feel like they might not have the resources right now.
Yeah, maybe the change you want to make in your career is a completely 180 degree. You don't have people in your network, you don't have any friends doing that. It happens very often, for example, when people do this move that you're doing from employer to work for a company and then start being an entrepreneur. So not all of us are surrounded by entrepreneurs, by people that had their own business and all of that. So sometimes making this step will let you alone in the process. So it's like, all my friends work for a company and they have no experience. We cannot talk about it. They don't understand what I'm talking about. They cannot add, they cannot go further with that, which is okay. So I think first look within your friends, within the community you are already participating, people that know you. But if you don't find a resource there, go further. Don't stop yourself just because I don't know anyone that is an entrepreneur or is a coach or work in the finance area or is an English teacher, whatever. So go for people who are already doing it. There are a lot of people. I think it's hard to find a job that you're going to start right now, you or whoever, that nobody's doing, like a 100% original thing. Like, I'm starting from scratch. Bullshit. You're not. I'm sure that a lot of people out there doing that, which is good because it confirms there is a marketing for that. If there are more people working as a coach, people who are entrepreneur, people working with this job or this activity, it means that there are people out there who needs the service. So it's a good confirmation that, okay, that's a nice path to go. But ask for help. If you don't have the background, talk to those people, wherever they are. With internet, it's a bit easier now to find people in different countries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you won't always find also what you need. So within that space, you're kind of navigating like, okay, is this the path, or does this course resonate with me, or is this the healing thing that I want to do? Maybe not. Maybe I'll do something else. So just, like really just walking that path myself, and seeing how it feels with me, and seeing like waiting for that, another like moment where I'm like, I think this is another thing that I want to add to my bucket of things.
Yeah. But before we have this aha moment, like, oh, that's it. That's the thing. We need to test, because most of the times we don't know in advance. So I like very much the design thinking approach. Do you know what is that? Design thinking. Yeah. So design thinking. In a very short way is like, you don't need to know in advance before you start walking towards a change, towards solving a problem, whatever you're going to do. Because once you start walking, you test your ideas, your feelings, your plans, you test them. And in a small scale, in a small action, a small product, a small one client, one job offer I'm going to apply, one interview I'm going to give talking about it. And then you see how you feel in the process, and you learn in the process, and you make the adjustment. You go back, you evaluate, okay, this is good, this is not. You change the path, or you don't need to know in advance. Sometimes we know in it, just go if you know. But I'm talking to the other people who doesn't know in advance. They just have this feeling like, what I'm doing now in my job, it's not what I want to do. I'm not really happy. I'm kind of tired, is unmotivated and all of that. So in this case, start walking, and that's exactly what you did. You start signing up for different courses, and then courses and activities still in the digital nomad community, building that part that you were. And then you notice that you were more interested into the coaching area. And then inside the coaching, which is a whole variety of things, you start, I think that's where you are now at the moment, right? Testing different coaching areas until you found the healing, and you're like, okay, this is the area but you were testing, you didn't know before. We didn't need to know before all the time, right? We can test in the process.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also a fan of design thinking, being a researcher myself, and I've kind of been applying that in my own process, and really testing, as I start to actually run my own events now. I I don't have that clear offer yet, but I'm just starting to test these ideas that I have in different communities and with people, and getting feedback, and then iterating along the way, and refining it as I go. So
Yeah.
that's also part of the learning journey, was actually being confident enough to host my own events and start my own thing already, even if I'm still also learning.
Yeah, yeah. I want to share one thing that I just remember now. The importance of testing the ideas, right? And see ourselves in the situation instead of just being dreaming about it. I have done theater and improv theater for 12 years. Since 2008, yeah, 12 years. Not very good with math, but I think it's 12 years. And then I have attended several classes. I have done some shows, not super big, but I was acting plays, and there was one play we did like 12 shows, 12. We repeated the play 12 times. So, not in a professional level, but I was very into theater, and then improv, always in English when I was living in Spain. And I loved it. Like the feeling of being on the stage and the adrenaline and, the rehearsals and turning into different character. And then I went to the improv, which was training a lot of new skills. So it was something I always enjoyed, the theater background that I have in the past 12 years. But then I thought at some point, like, okay, do I want to be an actress, like a professional actress? Do I want to do that? And then I started getting friends that were actors and actors professionally. And I realized that the lifestyle that they had, I didn't want to have that lifestyle, because most of my friends, I'm talking about amateur level theater, not super famous people, not yet, but they were working during the day. They were available during the days for castings, for example, to attend different castings and to get the gigs and all of that. And then at night, they were working in bars to make some money, because while they were still applying for the castings, they didn't have a fixed income. So they were at night working until 3, 4 a.m. in bars as bartender, waitress, and all of that. And then during the day, they were available for the casting. And I was like, I don't want to have this lifestyle. This is not for me. Although I really enjoy theater and this is part of who I am, and I have fun with that, I don't want to invest professionally on it. But I only got that conclusion after 12 years doing theater, connecting with people, going for castings myself, rehearsing for shows. So when I started, I not even know I was going to I started because I wanted to do something in English to improve my English level after I moved back from Ireland. So it started just like, yeah, let's find something to keep speaking in English. And then it turned into one of my passions. And then I thought, I want to be a professional actress. That would be super cool, right? But then the reality was different. So my message to you is, don't just dream about it. Get deeper into the situation, get closer, just like you did with building the digital nomad community, and now building your own style of coaching with the healing and all of that. Because the more you get real information, the more you can decide about, is this the path I want to go for, right?
Yeah. There's another thing also that I wanted to share, that I read about there's this author, she's called Tara Moore. she wrote a book called Playing Big, and she talks a lot about female leadership. And she shared something about whenever you're faced with a decision or within this career change, right? And you're asking yourself, what am I going to do in this decision? What am I going to do next? Ask yourself, what would your future self want, or like your inner mentor, what would she do in this situation? And the more you ask yourself that, what would my future intuitive coach do in this situation? And the more I ask myself that, I start doing the actual actions of this future self and becoming that person more and more. So I thought that was really an important thing for me to realize, and I'm trying to keep doing right now, is just keep embodying that, even that vision of myself that I want already right now. Even if things are not
there yet,
fully prepared yet, or whatever it is.
But we need to have a goal. We need to know where we are going, because a career change will require a lot of time, investment, commitment. So if you don't know where you want to go, still you can start walking without paying for a master degree that will cost 30,000 euros, whatever, if you're not sure about it. But you need to start making some steps. And I also believe that you should start putting some money on it, because not everything that you need will be for free. And we are getting kind of used to free online events lately, right, with COVID and all of that. But those things have a price. Whoever is preparing an event is putting time and knowledge and all of that. So I'm doing a mentoring tomorrow about LinkedIn, and I made a very reduced price, because that's somehow my way to help people during the pandemic and all of that. But there is a lot of hours that I'm putting together. It's like years of experience that I have on LinkedIn that I'm going to share that for a very reduced amount of price. So my point is, sometimes we need to pay to speed up the process of learning, to get closer to the experts in our area. So people don't go only for free events. I'm a big fan of free events. I'm attending a lot of free events in the quarantine, but I'm also attending paid events. So it's not a matter of I'll just go for free events, go for as many as you can. But if there is someone which is a reference in that area, you really want to learn from that person, evaluate if it's not the time to pay to attend, to get the knowledge faster, but start walking, because it's not seated on the couch that you're going to learn and you're going to build the confidence and the knowledge. It's a process, right? You have been walking for the path for months already to be where you are now, right?
Yeah.
And where are you now?
Yeah, and I'm still...
Yeah, which is your moment now?
Yeah.
Where are you now? Not physically, but in the process, I mean. I know you're in the Philippines, but like in the process of changing from the marketing area, from a researcher to intuitive coach, which step do you consider that you are at the moment?
Yeah, so now I'm looking really at the business side already, the financial side, and hoping that in the next couple months I can already start setting, realistic goals to really make the transition. So I'm still employed fully by someone for my consultancy. So I'm doing the same strategy I did years ago, where I'm still keeping this, because obviously I need my steady income and I need my savings to keep coming in. But while doing that, I'm on my free time when I'm not working, I'm doing all my learning, I'm doing all my courses. So within the next month, I'm going to take another coaching course that should really be the last thing, I think. And
maybe not.
I've just been enjoying the learning. Yeah, and it just feels like I want to finish that, and then hopefully in the next few months I can really set more business goals already and start launching things and starting to put offers out there. So that's where that's the stage I'm in.
Nice. Yeah. I think the learning process never stops. So once you start selling yourself out there as a healing coach, you should still keep learning and attending course and all of that. So glad that you're enjoying the learning process, but it won't be over. For good or for bad, let me tell you, never going to stop attending courses and all of that, because things change. So it's important glad that you're enjoying it, But even if you're not enjoying, probably that would be the way to go, because we need to keep learning, and things change, and new techniques, and the environment changes, like happened now with COVID. So we need to to learn from the situation and attend new course. I'm a big fan of courses and improving yourself. I think that's one of the best investments, if not the best one, that we can do, to invest in ourselves and our knowledge, because that's pretty much what you can offer to the world. What do you know? The skills you have, and the learning that you have in the process. So
just to mention that, the same thing we talked about the other night. It's just we're constantly evolving, right? Every single time, even if you're already an entrepreneur already, you're going to keep learning, you're going to keep evolving your product and changing along the way. So I think that's also just important to say, that it's not when you find that one thing, that's it forever. No.
The one thing changed.
That's not true.
Sometimes it's likely, sometimes a lot. The one thing changed. And you change also in the process. So maybe you were working in one area and all of that, but after some years you're like, I'm not as excited and motivated about that area, so I want to make another change, which is normal in the process. So the fact that you made one choice, it doesn't mean you have to stick to it forever. It doesn't mean it's a failure if you change into other area. It's like walk the walk, identify things that motivate you, things that you can contribute, things that you're good at, and if you're not good at, see if you can improve yourself in that thing, if this is what you want to do, or change areas. I thought it was going to be easier, but it's hard, so I'm going to do the other thing, which is also fine. So start walking on the process. But the learnings come from the process, right? Now you talk a lot about the things you learned and the change you did, and when you look back and all of that, because you have already walked several steps in this stair, and you're not at the beginning anymore. You're fully into the process, and things are happening. So thinking about it, if you look back, let's say January, when we met, and you were still with more doubts and things going on in your mind, and like, oh, Juliana, we need to talk, have something serious, and it's not about being pregnant. So which would be the advice you would give to yourself months ago when you were starting this career change process? So if you look back to Trixie, that were with more fears, with more doubts, uncertainties, and all of that months ago, which would be the advice you would give now to yourself months ago through this career process?
I think if I look back at myself then, I was really starting to just trust myself in the process, which I'm kind of discovering a lot right now. I started just, I started seeing so many changes happen in my life as soon as I started trusting myself more.
Wow, nice.
And actually started realizing that I was changing so much. I was starting to look at people differently. I was starting to talk differently. I was starting to go connect with different kinds of people now. Things were just changing for me, and like becoming more aware of wow, how much change is going on, and also acknowledging that, because at the very start I think I was like, I wanted to go fast. I wanted to in 1 month launch this thing already.
We all want that, like
be done with it,
super fast,
and
right?
like just be done with it, like this is the path, that's it. But there's so many steps along the way that you also have to acknowledge. Like sometimes I do it in cycles, or like people do it like every month or every quarter. Just look at how much you've achieved already, and acknowledge that, and really recognize like how much you've changed along the way, and look at the things that worked for you, what things didn't work for you as well, and where are you right now, and what are your goals now for the next
look back and evaluate.
The next month.
It's not just keep going. It's stop, look back. What have I accomplished? What did I learn in these 3 months? That meeting didn't go well, so what can I learn from that meeting? That person didn't answer my email. Shall I send a different email? Shall I approach the person in a different way? Look back and evaluate. That's super important. Otherwise, we just keep going and we don't learn from the process. So I love that. Very important.
It's a lot of looking at yourself and trusting your decisions as well. And just willing to take the steps. Like I was initially like really scared, right? To like, what am I gonna do next? Like there are a lot of fears coming up for me, but as soon as I took that first step, like it just went on and on after that, and I'm still taking steps. So and it feels great to be in that space. So just enjoying that and not being so pressured by it
Nice.
is also another thing.
Yeah. I think when you start working towards the goal that you have, it feels good already. It doesn't mean you are there, and you know you're not there yet, but you know that you're using your time and your energy to do something that is putting you one step closer to where you want to get. So I felt that myself in many career changes that I have done. It's like, I know there's a long path yet, but this is the best use of my time and my energy right now is go towards where I want to go. It feels good. It feels like very right. It feels like this is exactly what I want to do right now in the place I want to be. So I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, and just having that vision of, again, like that future self that I want to be, having that goal of a clear goal and a clear vision of my future self that I want to be, and just keep embodying that and keep working towards that.
Yeah. I just want to say that I'm super happy because we kept in close contact since January, and I saw your change on the go. We spoke mainly via voice message, but like I feel like I'm part of the process, and I'm super proud of you because I know how much you moved ahead, and I know it was not just seated on the couch and wait. I know you're putting a lot of time and effort, and this is actually the way because I know some people are very lucky and they have some connections that make things easier for them. And then one day they are here, the other day they are there, they get double salary and they are in the company that they dream about. But this is not what happens to most of us mortals. So I like to share real stories of people that are building up their way, even if it's not a piece of cake or super easy. I think it's important to show the work that is behind that.
You're definitely part of the journey, and I'm so grateful for yeah, meeting people like you who are just one of the people who inspired me to just keep going for it and still keep going for it.
Thank you for your time,
All right,
Trixie.
thanks, Juliana. That was fun.